empowering you through the voice of truth with your host, Dr. Joel Hunter.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Joel Hunter, host of Power Talks, empowering you through the voice of truth. And on today's program, we've got one of the premier organizations of Central Florida. I love this group. We've worked with this group. They're awesome. And you're going to hear about the valuable ministry of the work of feeding children everywhere from CEO Dave Green, who, not incidentally, was voted Central Floridian of the Year last year. So he's a big deal. I'm kind of nervous, you know. And then Christina Teneo.
You got it. Yeah.
Okay, good. And Nadia Samuel.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Exactly.
Okay,
right.
great. This is the team. And so let's for those who have not heard yet of this organization, and tens of thousands of people have because you work with so many people in this community and others. Dave, let's start with you. Could you give us a little bit of the history of the organization and kind of the goal and what you do?
Right, so we were actually founded in 2010 after the earthquake in Haiti.
That recent?
It is, yeah,
Oh,
so
my
a little
goodness.
over 8 years. And originally we started out as only distributing food internationally. It started out as just helping Haiti, then a few other countries were added to that.
Now, when you say distributing food,
Yeah.
what the audience is going to hear, they're going to be thinking, hamburgers? Well, you know what? Tell us about the component parts of what you send.
We started with a very simple recipe, and it's lentils, which are a superfood, high in protein, rice, dehydrated vegetables, and pink Himalayan salt for flavoring. So it was a meal that was designed to be a whole meal, very nutritious, something that tastes great, and it's culturally recognizable all over the world.
Oh,
because
really?
lentils are produced all over the world.
Yeah.
And so that's where we started. Where we look at where we're at today, of course, we have a whole menu of different meal options, from pasta meals, even our own hamburger hero.
Really?
Mac and cheese.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah.
I only got the first version,
Right,
and it really
right.
was good.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, that's cool. Okay. I'm sorry to interrupt, but go ahead with what you were saying.
So, we started, though, with that idea to help in response to a crisis, right? So many people after earthquake in Haiti were moved and challenged to do something to try to make an impact and try to help. Our organization was founded in the aftermath of that event, and then we sent food to a number of countries over the next couple of years. And in early 2012, there was actually a national TV show that had done a special on poverty and hunger right here in Central Florida. And we were shocked, right? We were dismayed, but the most challenging and convicting component of that is that in one of the shots, there was a dad and his daughter who were living in their van. And of course, it was a heartbreaking story, but then we looked closer. Our post office box, where all of our donation checks would come in, was in the shot right behind where they were living.
Oh, my goodness.
So here we were going to our post office box, and there's this dad and his daughter living in the van right outside. And we were so convicted that we couldn't only focus on international, that we also had to think about hunger and poverty right here in our own backyard.
Wow.
And that was a transformative moment for our organization as we started to both deeply care for the people here in the United States, but then also at the same time international. So many times in the humanitarian world, we get boxed into these either ors, and
Right.
really, we're all on this one planet,
Yeah.
right? And we should be caring for people's needs all over the world.
Yeah, everybody's got to eat.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Christina, tell us about the team.
I would love to.
Okay, good.
So we love our team. They are the best. They're innovative. They're creative. We feel as though we are so fortunate every day. We have a room full of millennials who are coming in, giving up their time. So to give you a little bit of insight, we run a really large internship program. So apart from even
great.
our staff, which is actually a fairly small staff, so we run pretty tight as a team, but we have tons of college-age students who are coming in, giving up their time every week, and maybe they're graphic designing, maybe they're working in finance or in human resources. So I think it's fresh, it's innovative. If you came into our office, you'd be like, why are all these people so nice? Why are they all so willing to go the extra mile? But yeah, they're fully committed, and we're fortunate with our team.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And Nadia, I'd love to know about, part of the genius of this organization is community-wide partnerships, and your capability, your unbelievable capability of engaging so many volunteers. Tell us about that.
Yeah, absolutely. The volunteer force that we have that comes out to support us at all of our events throughout the country is phenomenal, and it helps us make a huge impact in the fight against hunger. Another integral part are some of our partners who are also all across the country, and we're so blessed to have such a wide range of partners that range from donors to faith-based organizations and corporations. A few of our partners that have made an extraordinary impact in the fight against ending hunger in America have been companies like JetBlue, JP Morgan Chase, and Chick-fil-A. So it's just been phenomenal that they want to collaborate with us and help us make a huge impact in the fight against hunger.
Dave, was it you or somebody else that came up with the idea for having these events where hundreds of people could gather at a site and pack, hundreds of thousands of meals at a given time?
Yeah, so this whole part of the space of the nonprofit world was actually started by a businessman in the Chicago area in the early 1980s when the famine existed in northern Africa, where the era where, I remember as a child where it just broke your heart every day, the stuff that you would see on TV, right? And there was a businessman who had figured out a way to really take some food from food manufacturers that maybe wasn't going into the food products, how to reuse that because it was a great protein source. He designed a recipe, and he started working with some churches up in Illinois, and that began the process of really saving a lot of lives in northern Africa. And now today there's about 100 different organizations that have come from that origin, but and they, everybody does things a little bit differently, but it all started from during the early 1980s, a business leader saying, something has to be done, and started an organization then to do something about it.
Wow. Now, maybe you want to take this one, Christina, but I've participated in these events where you have, everybody lined up. We have our little caps on, little hairnets. We got and everybody's putting in a different ingredient and sealing the bag and packing it in the boxes. Oh yeah, thoroughly enjoyed. And they're laughing and high fiving and getting in contest with one another. Let me ask. Maybe all of you know this, but I don't. How many meals has your organization distributed or packed throughout the years?
Absolutely. Yeah. So we just celebrated not too long ago 100 million meals, and so we are so excited,
meals.
so proud. Yeah, it's insane, and when we're celebrating it, it's like, how can we even picture 100 million people, 100 million lives that have been impacted? So yeah, we're really excited and proud.
Yeah.
Who have been the organizations, and maybe Nadia, you would know this because you're the director of development. But who been some of the main organizations that have called you in and say, we want to have an event? We want our people, or we want you to come to our church or our school or our organization, and we want to do that just as a kind of a team building exercise that has social good. Who are some of those?
Oh gosh, there's so many, and they're all across the country. But I guess if we go back to Chick-fil-A has been huge, and it's probably just horrible to say, but you throw a rock and there's like 3 Chick-fil-A's, in one corner,
exactly,
right?
Yeah.
So they are everywhere, and so many of them have rallied against this cause, like fighting hunger in America, and so pretty much at grand openings of Chick-fil-A all across the country. Also, there's a new Chick-fil-A One app, things like that, that they really want to bring us in and help get meals out to where they're needed the most. So that's one of our biggest one of our partners that we're very blessed to have. And I'd mentioned JP Morgan Chase, and they have been phenomenal. So they rally their employees in their own facilities across the country to help us pack meals. AARP, another huge one, we just did 1 million meals right on the front lawn pretty much of the White House.
Oh, wow.
So not exactly there, but very close to it. So it's incredible.
That's
but those are just
fantastic.
a few of our many partners. I hate to not mention them all because they're all equally important.
Of course.
But that's just, I guess, a few of them I can
Well,
say.
Christina, let me come back to you, and then Dave, I want you to talk about the future because the last time you and I talked, you had some pretty exciting ideas, and I want to follow up on those. But what are some of the local events in Central Florida that you have seen
Absolutely.
happen?
I'll have to say I can't not mention last year around this time actually when we had quite a few hurricanes that hit our nation pretty hard and also Puerto Rico. And we had the best turnout of Orlando people. And so we were so proud of doing, we did a large project at the Orlando Convention Center. And it was called Hope for Puerto Rico, or Orlando Cares. And people showed up. It was amazing.
As in how many?
As in 54,000 people showed up, which is pretty cool.
54,000
Yeah,
people.
incredible. And so from that, there was 4.4 million meals sent immediately to Puerto Rico. And so we've done a lot of projects locally. We work with, she's mentioned corporate. We work with churches, we work with businesses, we work with civic groups, Girl Scout troops, all of everyone. But that was one I know where we were like, wow, we're so happy we live in Orlando because these people showed up.
Cool.
Yeah. So.
Could I ask you this? Who pays for the ingredients?
Yeah, it's a good.
What's the philosophy on that?
So it's a very unique model. So we actually purchase those. So imagine like lentils. That's one of our number one food items that we put in our recipes. So we actually lock in commodity contracts with a massive mill in Montana. We lock in commodity contracts for a year to be able to buy like 40, 50 truckloads.
That's
of
what I'm
lentils.
wondering. What does a lentil run for these days? It's like, holy cow.
Or a truckload of lentils.
Yeah, exactly. You've such volume that you would have to do that.
Right, we do. And so we purchase all of that, and then we work with our partners. So say a JP Morgan Chase, they'll say, hey, we've got 200 employees in Orlando that we want to put on an event. We want to sponsor the meals. And so basically we build a budget for them to cover the cost, right? So we purchase it up front, and then our corporate partners help to cover the cost once we actually package the meals. And really what that does is it generates for us tens of millions of meals each year that we're then able to distribute and make an impact in the fight against hunger.
Yeah. Now I promised you that I'd ask you about the future because this really is a creative team. As Christina was saying, and I love part of what I love is that there's kind of a natural resistance in this generation to becoming an institution. You want to develop in mission that keeps evolving, and the iterations are ever more kind of fun and exciting and creative. So tell us, and any of you can chime in here, but tell us what are some of the newer iterations you have for the old model?
Yeah, well, I would say that it starts with we probably stumbled into some things, right? We go out and we try to do the right thing. We try to do something good. We're focused on fighting hunger, and as we go, we learn a lot. So we do, as Christina mentioned, we innovate quite often. And one of the things when we look at in the United States today, we're in an environment where we basically have full employment in our economy. So the question that I would ask as an outsider would say, how could there be hunger in a country at full employment? But unfortunately, because of the cost of living, right? Because of housing, of course, we have a big housing issue right here in Central Florida with affordable housing, healthcare costs, food costs, college, student loans, everything cost of living, it's gone so high that really what that means is for the roughly 180 million Americans that are 200% of the poverty level or below, about 50% of the United States, for those people, if anything...
Say that again.
So it's about 50%, 57% of the people in the United States are at 200% of poverty or below, right? So about 180 million people. And for people in that group, a flat tire, a trip to the dentist for their child, and any unexpected expense, and they're having to make decisions about how am I going to feed the family this week, when we look at especially the group that is below the poverty level, so that's about 41, 42 million Americans, when we look at that group, we know every month that they're going to need help with food. And what typically happens is even with the SNAP benefit program, which is vital, a vital safety net in our society, with the SNAP program, the old food stamp program, with the SNAP program, typically they run out of their benefits about 8 days into the month. Sometimes there's this myth out there that people are getting $1,000 a month to buy groceries, but the average is really just over $100. And so for a family of four,
$100 a month?
Yeah, a little over $100 a month. So for a family of four, it really is just a supplement, right? So they'll use that up typically by about 8 days into the month. Then they utilize their grocery budget for as long as they can. And unfortunately, what happens for millions of households in the United States is in any given month, it means that they're going 3 days with only feeding their family rice or something of that nature. A classic story of this, there's a wonderful woman named Josie who has 3 little girls, a single mom in Dallas, Texas, has 3 little girls. They live in a 1-bedroom apartment. They live in an apartment that's probably a little bit more than they can afford, but it's because they want to do the same thing that any parent would. She wanted to have her little girls grow up in a safe neighborhood and go to good schools, and so she made sacrifices. And because of that, it means oftentimes at the end of the month, it's rice and beans for 5 days or 7 days. And so what we did is we tried to take everything that we learned, right? We said, if we really try to understand hunger in America, how do you best serve that, right? And so the answer to say like, well, if we just had 3 times the amount of SNAP benefits, that would solve it, that's just not realistic, right? Going from 70 billion a year to 210 or 250 billion a year really isn't an option. And for nonprofits to go try to fundraise $220 billion to solve the need, that's really not an option either, right? And so we really had to kind of take a step back and try to figure out how to do an empowerment model, right? And we also said, how do we do this as efficiently as possible? So about 1.5 years ago, we launched a new program. It's a mobile app for the phone and a web app, so people can just, if they can get online, which pretty much everybody in the U.S. somehow can get online,
Right.
If they can get online, they can do a request for food assistance. We started a pilot right here in Central Florida in Orlando, and over about an 18-month period of time, we scaled that to 24 states. We distributed over 350,000 meals through the program, and we saw these huge successes. We added to it the option, because we really want to see self-reliance, self-sufficiency. We added career resources to that, where people could connect with job skills programs, computer skills, English as a second language, entrepreneurship training, things that are going to help create a pathway to self-sufficiency, and really encourage, because about 40% of the people who requested food assistance actually asked for help with career resources as well.
Wonderful.
Which also goes against kind of a myth that's out there that if people need food assistance, maybe it's something to do with them, right? And really what we found was that's just not the case. These are people who they're ambitious and they're ready to kind of have more success in their life and get out of the situation they're in. But we're really, really excited, right?
That's so cool.
We're so excited because of the things that we learned. We actually just relaunched the program in like the last 2 weeks. So this is really fresh, and you talk about innovation, right?
This just in.
Yeah, this just in,
All right.
right? And so we relaunched the program because what we found was, truth be told, there is a very small segment of people who really truly, they are looking for a handout or they're looking for a freebie.
Sure.
And sort of this vision of, to kind of put it to words, just imagine a farm, right? A crop, you have this amazing opportunity, this harvest, but then you have some weeds that kind of grow up within it. And that's what we found with our program, is there's this opportunity to make a huge impact with it, but there was this challenge, and because resources are limited, we could only send so many boxes of food a day. And you may remember my story, my family was turned down for food assistance when I was a little boy. And so that's the last thing I ever want to do, is run an organization where we're turning people down who need help. But unfortunately, that's where we got to, right? We got to that tragic reality of we can only send so much food a day because of limited resources. And so by like 9 a.m. every day, we were hitting our maximum of what we could send. We would have people email us and they would say, hey, can we go on at midnight at 12:01? Is that when it resets so we can do a request? So that was tragic for me. We, as a team, we really wrestled with that. How do we solve this? And really what we landed on was this empowerment model. We realized that for the vast majority of the people we're trying to serve, they're not looking for a handout. handout or a freebie. And there's actually a way to do this to empower them to be a part of it, right? And so now we charge a little bit of money for shipping and handling, but we added a lot more food items. So we relaunched this as something called Full Cart, F-U-L-L-C-A-R-T. So imagine a full grocery cart. We relaunched this a couple of weeks ago. It's just fullcart.org for anybody that needs help. And we provide them with this amazing bag of groceries that has a lot of different meal kits in it and then popular grocery items. They can go online, fill out a basic application, pay the $6.99 shipping and handling, and within about 2 business days, because of our partnership with FedEx, they get a bag of groceries right to their front door. And so we believe that's the answer of how you end hunger in America. It's not about another handout or another freebie. The people, they're just looking for the best value. Families like Josie in Dallas, if she had something like that she could turn to, she wouldn't have to worry about going 7 days with nothing but rice.
You know what I'm curious about? You know, I know some of Dave's story because we had a great conversation previously, and I know his natural empathy because he's been through some difficult situations. You guys look like you've always had it together. What are you doing? what are you doing in this organization? What prompted you? You know, you're young, obviously capable. What prompted you to have a heart deep relationship in this type of organization?
Absolutely. Well, I'll say that, you know, I can't think of anything better than doing something where you're giving someone their basic need. And so I really believe that, you know, out of all the things, there's so many good organizations doing great work. And I love that I get to be directly attached to food, to where, you know, it doesn't matter who you are, it's the great equalizer. You can live in Africa, you can live in Haiti, you can live in the US. We all need food. And so for me, I see that the impact that we make here is exponential, because maybe we get to help someone in downtown Orlando who they can't make their grocery budget, you know, stretch as much as they need to. Or maybe we're giving food to an orphanage in Zambia or in Haiti where they're doing great work, sustainable work, and we get to provide them with one of the bases for their programs. And so I see the impact as so much bigger than myself, so much bigger than you know, anything else I could be doing, that it's just a no-brainer.
Nadia, what about you?
Yeah, well, I've actually had my own experience with hunger as a child. And so my parents, both of them were from 2 different countries, and they came here for the first time, and they worked really hard. Like, they both had 2 jobs each. But, you know, with having 3 kids in the house, which isn't that many, but there were times where the cabinets were bare and empty, and, you know, my mom would pass it off like, oh, I didn't have time to go to the grocery store. And so I didn't realize. But then after a few weeks of that, you know, like just a few pieces here and there, but you want more, you know, especially being an American kid. You're like, give me the cookies, and you're watching the commercials, and I want the Go-Gurt, and why can't I have? Because, you know, there's nothing in the cabinet. And so that's when I started to realize, like, there might be a problem here. Like, can we not get food? Like, do we not have access to food? And when I'd had, like, an honest conversation with my mom about it as a kid, she's like, no, we can't afford, like, to buy any more food. And I think as a kid, once you realize, like, the realization that there's food insecurity in the home, that's when your childhood starts to, like, slowly diminish and fade away. And I'm just thinking, oh gosh, like, what can I do to help? Like, I want to do a lemonade stand, like, I'll sell my shoes, you know, I'll put signs in the community, like, garage sale on Saturday, whatever I could do to help my my parents. And that's kind of stuck with me as, you know, I was kind of working hard and going through career cycles. And I came across the position available at Feeding Children Everywhere, and I was like, how amazing would it be to really just dedicate the rest of life and career to really making an impact every day? Like, you look at things on TV or Facebook, and you wish you could help, and I'm like, I don't know how, or you know, where to go and be of service. And then that's just like a one-time, like, segmented things, and we kind of forget about it and we go along our daily life. But to be a part of a mission every day was something that really interested me. And what sealed the deal, which I'm excited about being here at Feeding Children Everywhere, is we had a meal recipient similar to Josie, but her name is Crystal, and she lives in Tampa. And she was a single mother who was also was struggling with cancer at the time. And I myself am a cancer survivor. Like, I'm in remission for about, like, 12 years now. But I can't even imagine, because I was supported by my family and my parents at the time, but I couldn't imagine being a single mother that couldn't put food on the table for my kids. And then also having to deal with that huge battle and struggle in and of itself,
Yeah.
like with my own health, but then also the struggle with food insecurity, that just completely blew my mind because it's something I hadn't thought about of, having that challenge. But being so closely aligned to that, knowing how hard it is to just be struggling every day for life, and also having to provide for your kid, and she was so excited to have found our program for meal assistance and to be able to order food from us at no charge. And we were able to ship it out to her, and then how that program has just evolved now, so that whereas just only being able to support Crystal in Tampa, we can now with the full cart model support families all across the U.S.
That's
because
fantastic.
our beta tested model, we could only do like 24 states, and now we can do all 50 instantly,
Oh my
and we can
goodness.
raise the cap on meals that we
So
can
you're
provide
actually
every
feeding
day.
children everywhere.
Yeah,
aren't you?
so I'm so excited about it. So that was so great.
Well, this is such, I can't believe this time's gone already. This is, what you're doing is absolutely remarkable and inspirational. As someone who's worked with homeless people, and that's kind of what I do these days, I know how hardworking a family can be.
Yeah.
And still, when you're spending 50% just trying to stay dry, just trying to keep or 60% or 70% of your income just for lodging. Hardworking families, good families, still go without. And so thank you for being that ministry that is really making a difference in very foundational ways. Like you said, this is everybody's got to eat,
Yeah.
and this is one of those things that is just so important to everybody. So I hate this. We're out of time. I don't like this, but I want to thank you and Nadia and Dave and Christina. You guys are superheroes. You can put your cape back on at the door. But thank you for joining us. Remember, these discussions are just that. They're discussions among us. But we'd love to see you continue the discussions at home and go one step farther, get involved. The website's on the screen. Because when Power talks, you are empowered through the voice of truth. See you next time.
You just watched Power Talks, a Good Life 45 original production that makes you part of our Hope Team here on Good Life 45, where hope happens.